going to be to teach you how to do some quick adjustments to some photographs, which are the most basic kind of adjustments we often do to photographs. Things like exposure for midtones, shadows, and highlights, as well as something called white balance and other color adjustments. So first of all, we're going to have to download some pictures here in Schoology. We are going to click on one of the folders and find a set of warm photographs and a set of cool photographs. So we could start with one of the warm photographs and make sure we download it. So right click and save it to your home folder. And then you go to the desktop and we go to your folder and you can just save it there. If for some reason you click and it automatically saves, then check the downloads folder because that's where most files end up in. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to open that picture in Photopea. We can just go open from computer and choose warm, the warm photo, and in your case whatever photo you choose, and zoom in. It's important that you zoom in. So if your image is small, make sure you zoom in. Command plus or Command 0 to go full screen, because you want to be able to see the detail in the color. Remember that you also want your brightness to be above the middle. You don't want it to be too dark, otherwise it's very hard to calibrate and make sure that your colors are accurate. So now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this photo and decide, what is happening with the color? It obviously has a weird tint to it. It doesn't look right. This is not a white balanced photo. There's something too much. There's probably too much yellow, too much green, too much red, and it's not enough blue, right? There's not enough blue in this photo. So we will find that those settings again in the image menu under adjustments, and you could go down to color balance, and you're going to get our red, green, and blue. And remember, you have three things to mess with here: the shadows, the midtones, and the highlights. So shadows, we don't want to mess too much with the shadows because the dark colors don't seem to have too much of an issue. But like I said, the image could use maybe a little more blue. There's a little too much red as it is. And let's try it with the midtones. What happens if we add a little more blue, a little less red? You notice it's starting to become a little more balanced. There's not as much of that green. So because the image just lacked more blue, right? And finally the highlights, which is probably the one that is the most off balance. And just be careful not to overdo it because you notice you get that over blue tint. So that blue also needs to be cranked up a little bit. And again, reducing some of the red. And then I click OK. Now, this is an improvement, maybe not the best yet, but if we compare it to the original, we definitely have made a difference, right? Now, remember you also can adjust the levels of the image. This image seems to be lacking a little bit of brightness in the midtones. I think I could boost up some of those midtones maybe, and not lose some of the shadows, so bring back the shadows, but that'll definitely brighten up the picture. So remember that you've got the shadows, the midtones, and the highlights over here. And depending on how you change this, you can brighten up an image without overly brightening everything. So once I think I have something that is good, and I know we're all learning, so we just want something decent, you can call me up and we can figure out what grade you get for that image. This is the original. This is the new one. One last thing that I think this image could benefit from is rotating it. If you notice it's off center, like somebody scanned this. We can get our crop tool, and I could bring it in a little bit, actually, and rotate this until I have it kind of aligned in the same size as this photo. Now this is the way you do it in this program, Photopea, but in Photoshop is actually a little bit easier to do. And once you have the crop, you can just double click or hit that little checkbox, and it's now upright. So again, original and the updated version. So this is how you do some basic adjustments for the brightness and the color.